into the first segment.
Let's do it, man. Yeah. So we thought, like, because this is special, this is our first in-person podcast, that we would do something a little bit different. So obviously, Phoenix and you and I have done a ton of music reviews over the years. Or really, it's so crazy to say that that's been over the years.
Literally.
But I thought we thought we'd do an interesting segment. We want to call it Soundtrack to Our Lives. And the way this is going to work is Phoenix and I are going to go back and forth, and we're going to share a song that was impactful to us in some way, shape, or form, or maybe sparks a certain memory. Maybe not so much like our favorite songs of all time, but songs that we really enjoyed, or like, again, like sparked some sort of memory, like in our past lives, to get to know each other a little bit better, and for you guys to obviously get us to know us a little bit better as well.
Definitely.
So
just those songs that you have that like maybe didn't even age well, but are super like pivotal to like your growing process.
Exactly.
These are definitely some of those.
Exactly. Sure. So I thought that would be really fun. We both did. So yeah, I'll let the guests go first. Without further ado, I'd love to hear your first song.
Cool. So all of these, obviously, like we're saying, these are songs that kind of we remember from like our adolescence or our childhood. And so I'm gonna start with the oldest song I have, and this is where like I feel like I'm kind of a special case because so my dad's a DJ. I think, as you know,
we've talked about this before.
Right. Yeah. I don't know if Sam knows, but now the world knows. My dad's a DJ. Shout out DJ Big Shot. But so he like was very influential and just obviously like my music taste, as your parents are, and that's obviously why I'm such a hip hop head, because he was a hip hop DJ. But he really did a good job of showing me all the old school hip hop that he grew up on, and so now I have like this weird kind of like I share this taste with people who are probably like 20 years older than me, because like I'm really interested and I grew up almost essentially on old school hip hop that my dad grew up on. You know what I mean? So my first song for the soundtrack to our lives is It's Tricky by Run DMC.
Ooh.
It's tricky to rock around, to rock around. I'm talking about I burned that song, watched the music video, and Run DMC was like the first rap group or rap artist that I kind of idolized, because I was just into all the old school hip hop shit, dude. I don't know. Are we doing cursing?
Yeah, yeah, of course. Fuck yeah.
Yeah, facts. But like, so yeah, it's just so it's funny. Like whenever I run into conversations, like if you kind of have conversations with people older than you about music, and they kind of like shrug you off, assuming that you only listen to what's current. And of course I do that too. But I like actually share a lot of interest and taste in some of the same artists that, like, again, people 20 years my senior would listen to. So I kind of say things like, oh, I grew up on Run DMC, even though I wasn't born when Run DMC was popping.
Neither was I.
But It's Tricky by Run DMC, and just Run DMC, the group in general, was super influential for just like sparking the love I had for hip hop in general and music. And obviously I think it gave me a lot of good background and history as to where hip hop came from and what the scene looked like. Yeah. I'm talking about like I loved all that stuff. That's why I love hip hop in general, like all the elements of it, from the break dancing, the fashion, the graffiti. And I feel like in the 80s and 90s there was a lot more integration of all the elements of it. I grew up watching Beat Street, dude. For anybody who's a little bit older or like has done their research on old school hip hop, these are old hip hop movies. Like I grew up watching Beat Street. I don't know if you guys heard of Breakin'. You guys ever heard of Breakin'? No, terrible movies that I love. Like I absolutely love. And so Run DMC, It's Tricky is where I'm starting right now.
Cool. That's a great starting point. I dig that. And that's really cool you brought like your dad into that, like your influence. And I think that's actually where I want to start too today. That's actually funny the way you looked at it, because we had this obviously segment in mind, but we didn't really talk about too much of like how it was going to work.
Right.
And so which is why I'm glad we're doing it this way. And I actually kind of similarly the same way, like my 3 songs I picked today, which by the way I could have picked a million different songs.
Right.
Like
yeah.
There was so many to choose from, but I definitely went in more of a progression. I picked one from like very, very young to like, just maybe before adolescence, and then I actually went in high school, and then I slightly went up a little higher, went to pick one for college. But so the one I want to start with is a really kind of a funny story. There's 2 funny stories I would say throughout the 3 I have. This one is in particular, like I would also want to credit my mom, because she definitely, and I've talked about this on the podcast numerous times, of like how influential she's been on like my music taste as well.
Yeah.
She always had music playing in the house. I mean, you see on my wall, like there's Elton John, Coldplay in particular, right? Like those were some artists, and Fleetwood Mac, I have another vinyl for it, it's around here, but those are like some of the bands and artists that I was listening to early on that really influenced me. and like got me like going on like what music was. Marvin Gaye, Luther Vandross as well. So like
nice.
She mixed it up. Like she had the soft rock in there, some of the alternative, but then definitely some of like the smoother soul stuff. But what I want to go to is a song I hope that Sam definitely knows. I'm curious to see if you know it.
I feel like I'm not gonna know it already.
Kryptonite by 3 Doors Down.
Okay, I've definitely heard of three. We got a laugh from Sam in the back. I've definitely heard of 3 Doors Down. That's like a legendary.
We might need to pull it up.
We might have to pull it up.
So Sam, when you have it ready, let us know.
Kryptonite,
and I'll keep going. But
down.
So really funny story with this. So I must have been like.
Can we talk about when did it release? Do you know, like maybe when it came out?
Oh God, I want to say the late '90s. So it would have been
late '90s. So you were alive.
99,
you were like,
2000. 2000 was it? Okay, so it was 2000, and I was definitely alive. And so my family growing up,
definitely
alive. When my family were growing up, we had a house in Florida, or my grandparents had a house in Florida, my nana and nanu, and it was right outside Orlando. And every year we would go. So I'd go to Orlando every single year in the summertime until I was about 11 years old. And we would go to SeaWorld. And I believe I was 5 or 6 years old. I don't have this vivid memory, but my mom tells this story again and again and again, how funny the story is. So they have Shamu, of course, and now I look at SeaWorld a little bit differently nowadays with the human right. That's okay. This is the first time we're doing this. There might be a few hiccups, just so everybody's aware. But in all seriousness, this was a song that they would play when Shamu would do his like little what's it called, like
his little intro or routine.
Yeah, his routine, sure.
Yeah.
And
poor Shamu probably like hates this song.
No shit, right? Absolutely despises this song. And so this was a song that they would play, and apparently I was like maybe 5, 6 years old, and I was like, my mom says like, not moshing to it, but like I'm like jamming out, just raging to this song, this friggin' 3 Doors Down Kryptonite song. And it's funny now, every time I've ever heard it, it has reminded me of Disney. Yeah. And like SeaWorld. And then I obviously like we would play this song in like my mom's car. Like the song also reminds me of like all the times that I would be driving around my mom's Mercury Mountaineer. I still remember this, driving around and her playing like alternative music and rock music, and that's like I think was like the springboard of like me enjoying like the 90s rock that like was really the first genre of music that I personally got into before I got into hip hop. Yeah. So like I feel like I had to start with a song like this because it just made so much sense for like my life. And here's you'll know it. Here's the song. We'll play it.
We'll hope if I know it.
I hope you know it. It's a classic, dude.
Kryptonite, 3 Doors Down, ladies and gentlemen.
Phoenix's first introduction.
Right up Phoenix's alley.
This is also a reaction video. It sounds familiar.
The chorus will make sense.
It sounds familiar.
It's a Superman gig. Like it's all
right.
Yeah. Like a rendition of Superman. Yeah.
Right.
I've actually never seen this music video. Look how young he looks, bro. The lead singer.
And then like 5-year-old Mike is like,
dude, I'm rocking out to this shit, bro.
Back of the minivan.
I swear on my life. I don't know if there is video evidence about it, but
do you want to skip forward to the chorus?
I got you. It's coming up soon.
Is it?
Yeah. Oh, here, it's right here. Oh, you missed it.
I missed it.
You missed it.
We skipped right past the chorus. I don't know if I've heard this, honestly.
No?
Dude. I don't know if I've heard this.
How have you not?
I don't know.
It's crazy.
Like, I probably have. It's probably one of those things I've heard and haven't, like, retained. But, I don't know if I've heard this.
If I go crazy, then will you still call me Superman?
Not ringing any bells, dog.
Oh, my God.
Not ringing any bells.
All right, well, either way.
Different upbringing.
I was just going to say, different upbringings, dog. Different upbringings for sure. 3 Doors Down in here. That's sick. But do you actually? I didn't ask if you knew It's Tricky by Run DMC.
Of course I know. It's tricky. Yeah.
Of course,
so
of
I mean,
course.
I know. Yeah.
Right.
Otherwise,
You're
I'd be like,
cultured.
"What's It's Tricky? Let's play it." So,
true. Right.
No, of course I know.
Yeah. Okay.
It's tricky.
I'm sorry.
So we're I'm 1 for 1 on knowing yours. And
Yeah,
you're 0
you
for
are
1 on mine.
Yeah.
I think you'll know my next. If you don't know my second one, you might have to just leave.
I might have to just not be a turntable teacher anymore. Yeah, but you're teaching me, so that's
There you go.
good.
All about education.
That's
dog.
sweet, dude.
Me as a kid, like, you know, jamming out to that song. Like, it's a huge part of, like, again, it's interesting. It's because like a memory I don't really quite remember.
Right.
No pun intended. But like,
Yeah.
or that's kind of an oxymoron. A memory
Right.
that I don't remember. But
It's like blurry, but you have it.
yeah. And it's like every time I hear that song, it reminds me of Disney.
Yeah.
And like Shamu.
Yeah.
Poor Shamu. I
Poor
hope
Shamu, yeah.
I hope Shamu was able to live a
Yeah.
sustained life.
For him, that like just brings back flashbacks. That's a hard sentence.
I was about to say, what a tongue twister that was.
Facts.
But anyway, yeah, I'm definitely 1 for 1 on knowing
You
yours.
are 1
so,
for 1.
Let's see if you get me on
All
one
right.
of these. So
All right.
let's see.
I don't know if you're gonna know this. I honestly
We
don't
might have
know
to pull
you're
this
gonna
one
know
up too.
this.
All right,
Yeah.
go ahead.
And it's funny because we mentioned, right? I don't think there's a place or a location that's more synonymous with like one type of memory than a car is to music. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like
I agree with that.
For some reason, because obviously we listen to radio in our cars, and that's where we listen to a lot of music. That's where like a lot of your memories are associated with some of your favorite songs. Is like car trips, road trips, either when you're younger or like you're just driving by yourself when you're older. You have like your go-to songs, and that's where you make a lot of these memories. So my next song is, you know, you're talking about kind of, I told you that I was pulling all my songs kind of from like earlier in my childhood / adolescence, but it more kind of stops at like middle school, maybe freshman year of high school for me. But this next one was one that would play for anybody in Western Mass, Hot 93.7. You know exactly what I'm talking about. At 8:05 a.m. every morning, this song would play, and if it played, you knew you were late for school. Like, I know anybody from Western Mass, you know what I'm talking about right now. It's "Good Morning" by Nas. You ever heard that?
Oh, I
it's
don't
a
know if I know
sleeper
this
track
one.
by Nas. Sleeper track.
I don't know if I know this one.
Absolute B cut kind of like something you wouldn't hear, but it has it has an Isley Brothers sample. That's
Okay.
The "Good Morning, I'm Still Here." It's really sick sample, and actually on one of the tracks that I made, I kind of did a rendition at the end of this chorus that Nas made for this. But it's actually from the Isley Brothers sample. But "Good Morning" by Nas, that one was like, not only was it something that like I just got into the routine of listening to because I was always late for school. But
you would have driven me crazy.
It's such a good song, and it's like one of the first songs that I remember kind of like putting to memory, like in terms of the lyrics. It's something that still I can rap every bar of this song, and it kind of really put me on to Nas in general. And Sam's pulling it up right now. This right here is a classic, and I think I just gave Mike his first miss.
I think so.
Yeah, come on now. Oh, this song is so good. And just, can you imagine already, like, being, like, 12 and listening to this in the morning?
Ooh.
There's this nice lady I know. She's always headed to the school building. Oh, my God. It's leaking. So she keeps.
Was this on an album or anything like that? Or
Dude,
was this,
I don't think this was. Yeah, I think this was just a Lucy track. I don't see this on any Nas album or anything.
Because I'm obviously familiar with Nas's discography.
Right,
like I know his,
Yeah,
but
it's not on the Lost Tapes. It's not on
just smooth.
Stillmatic. Oh, it's so smooth. Hollow it up. 'Cause I'm still here. I don't know exactly who's on this chorus, but you can hear the Isley Brothers sample in the background.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if we want to like. I was gonna say I don't want to get hit with the copyright strike, but this song was. It's just so formative for me.
Yeah.
It just stands out. It's like
that's
as
dope.
one of those hip hop tracks that like I hold near and dear to my heart.
For sure. No, that's awesome. I have not. I'm gonna find a way to download that or something like that later, because this is a song that I really liked it. I've never heard it.
Good. It's so good.
Yeah, it's I feel like there's so many songs that a lot of these artists, like a Nas, a Lil Wayne, whoever, Jay-Z, Eminem, like all these artists, they have so much of this like backlogged music that like isn't, because I think a lot of us, we tend to look at like the discography of the music,
right?
And then that's out on like the streaming platforms
service,
nowadays, versus like there was so much other music that was out. That like we used to download off of like random websites or like LimeWire, and like you would be able to find some of this stuff.
You're right. Or that DJs and radio DJs probably found in some way or another on their own, and it wasn't really super available or accessible to the public. And but yeah, Hot 93.7, they knew what they were doing with that one, dude. That one, and again, it was the routine and kind of like. The routine of it playing at 8:05 a.m. every day,
I love that,
was the best. It was the best, and it's such a smooth vibe that like I don't even have like sometimes you have memories of things where it's like, oh, nice sunny crisp day. No, I have memories of like gray skies in the winter. I'm like groggy in the passenger seat, and then this song would come up. And I hate mornings, by the way, but this one would make my morning. Yeah, Mike knows. I am not a morning person.
I wouldn't say I am either. A lot of us aren't. Right. But no, I love the imagery you're painting with that, because that's so important, right? Like when you're thinking about some of these songs that have such a stamp in our like memories. Yeah. Like. Again, like I just picture like a sun, like with the last one, a sunset type of backdrop, being very warm because I was in Florida, and like obviously having the scenery of like SeaWorld and the Shamu's routine. So like it's so interesting how like music can do that. Yeah. And there's even some music like, if you have a bad memory with it sometimes, like it's tough to go back and listen to, because there's such a so my next one, it's really interesting that it's going this way, because you started to talk about stuff you did before school. Yeah. And the first song, we talked a lot about like our parents' influence on us. Yeah. Well, this next song, I'm gonna cheat a little bit. I had both from the same artist, but they're two separate songs. But it was hard because one of the songs here I was gonna pick, but it actually ended up. It'll make sense in a minute when I explain it, but. One of the songs I'm going to pick first, because right back, kind of piggybacking off what you're saying, is a song that when I would wake up in the morning, so I was very different from you. And when I was a kid, I would wake up at like 6:30 in the morning, and I would watch music videos back when MTV and VH1 had music videos on. I would get up and I would watch music videos from like 6:30 to 7:30, and then I would watch Sports Center from like 7:30 to 8, and then I'd go to school, and or I'd go to the bus stop. And this song, this music video, I haven't probably watched it in 10 years, and I can literally like visualize it because it was on every goddamn morning. And it was such an iconic moment, and just was a few weeks ago at the Super Bowl. I'm talking about Eminem's Lose Yourself.
Oh, God.
And that's the first song. So a lot of people know me like from, the show, and like we've talked about, like we've had some of these conversations about like formative music. And with hip hop, Outcast was definitely the entity that got me into hip hop, because it reminded me of like some of the Marvin Gaye, Luther Vandross, Ray Charles style of music. That soulfulness that I was listening to so much growing up was kind of embedded in an Outcast. And I, weirdly enough, don't have Outcast on this list, but maybe for another time, because this will be a segment we'll probably do again and again. This is kind of a ongoing segment we could just do forever. Right. But no, this is really interesting with Eminem, because I feel like it was the first song for me that really got me into like rap, which I not to say that Outkast isn't rap, I would say, but like more like the hip hop, like funky stuff, versus Eminem was like the first artist, like hip hop or rap artist that like moved me in a way that is hard to describe. Like that song is such a moment. Yeah. Right. That movie, that 8 Mile movie, it's such a moment.
Oh, for sure.
And I think too, when he played it at the Super Bowl a couple of weeks ago, it was such an iconic moment or memory for all of us. I think it all inhibited. I think that entire performance definitely like provoked some sort of thoughts from all of us, and like our generation of growing up with that music with Dr. Dre and Snoop and 50.
Sorry, not to interrupt. Did he do Lose Yourself?
He did.
Because I know he did Till I Collapse.
No, he did Lose Yourself.
He did Lose Yourself?
He did Lose Yourself, didn't he?
I thought it was Till I... Maybe I'm off.
I thought he did Lose Yourself. Yeah, I'm like 95% sure it was Lose Yourself. But either way, I really just thought that, that was just, again, a song where it was so, like, it made me feel something. And like
Yeah.
for the first time in my life where it was like you could hear his just brutal like emotion in that song, and
sure.
just like and it's become almost like, I don't want to say corny now,
Yeah,
but
it's a bit of a meme for sure.
yeah,
Like,
but it wasn't then.
Mom
It was
spaghetti.
Yeah,
No,
knees
yeah,
weak.
yeah. And that's the thing, right? Is that things become so ubiquitous because they're
Right.
so influential and big at the time that they then become repurposed for jokes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's usually like you have to do something that's largely impactful in order for it to end up as kind of a joke 10 years after. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I definitely understand. Like, when that came out, I think anybody from, like, in our age range, and obviously probably even higher or below our age range, all remember that, or at least know that song to some extent. And
sure.
also remember, I mean, like, that was peak prime Eminem. Like,
Absolutely.
the storytelling
Absolutely.
is so, and that's why that line sticks out so much, because it's like such a unique bar, and you know, it's so visual, where you're like, I don't think anybody has put together bars like that before that. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And now it's kind of opened up a wave. Obviously, Eminem is so influential to everybody else now that I think people start bringing up the most unique, kind of odd, like, storytelling bars that they can. But like the way that song opens up, you're like, oh my god! Like you can visualize exactly where he's at, what he's feeling. You can smell the spaghetti. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, you can visualize that. And then I think what's cool about that song too, and was such a shift, cultural shift, not only for Eminem but just like hip hop culture in general, because it was this underdog story of somebody that wasn't supposed to make it and be where they were at. It was so inspiring, I think, for a lot of people, and it was different from anything that Eminem had done before. Because if you went back, if you backlogged his, you know, his discography from there, you know, Marshall Mathers LP and Slim Shady LP were a lot more grimy, and they were it was a lot more like playful and you know, at sometimes jarring to listen to, versus Lose Yourself had a completely different cultural spin on what it meant to, you know, feel like what you were doing in your life. Like it was relatable for everybody, I think, on some level, of like this emotional sort of song that everybody could kind of like get behind, regardless of what you were like going through at the time, and however old you were. And I just think it was inspirational in so many ways.
Definitely.
And like it's this big cultural movement that Eminem like was able to sort of like provoke in that moment, in that moment. And it was really, I think it was just one of those songs that, you know, we'll look back on. I think still it kind of gives off that sort of energy even to this day. I think that there is a bit of a meminess to it now. But I thought, you know, just me growing up listening to that song and really, again, like that being my really introduction to Eminem. Like, I never saw Eminem as like the quirky, like wacky type. Like his first impression in my mind was, okay, this like inspiring, like I said, like underdog story of somebody that really had a hard time getting to where they were. And so for me, I just thought that, and then that music video too, like it was on every morning, and it was like a part of my morning, like waking up and listening and like watching that music video.
No, for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
So that's. And then I will say there was an Eminem song that I really wanted to put in place of this, instead of Lose Yourself when I was doing this, because I think Lose Yourself just being played at the Super Bowl, I think was like kind of a timely addition. But there's this other Eminem song that's actually my favorite, that invokes a kind of a sadder moment for me, which is called Beautiful. And I'll be real quick about this, but this was off of his Relapse album.
Yo, it's funny you say Relapse, because I listened to Relapse a lot when I was younger. And
really?
I don't remember Beautiful.
Beautiful is one of the last tracks on it, and it separates itself from the rest of the album because he doesn't put on the accent that he did on that project, on that particular song. It's this like acoustic sort of guitar, not ballad, but it's very emotional. Very emotional. And it's crazy. So this song I was listening to when I got the news that a friend of mine in high school had passed away in a car crash, tragically, yes. And it was one of those songs now, every time I listen to it, I think of him. I think of shout out Steve Beckel and his whole family. And it's funny because when I was in high school, I was really big on video editing and using like things like Final Cut Pro, like using a lot of the tools that we actually are using right now for the podcast. I was big on that in high school. And when he had passed away and I had started getting a little bit more comfortable with Final Cut Pro and editing, I decided to make like a pretty much a memorable or a memory video for him.
Tribute video.
Yeah, you got it. Yes, a tribute video in his memory, and I did it to that song because again, it was the song that I was listening to when I got the call that he had died. Man. And it's on YouTube for anybody that it's kind of emotional. I mean, all my high school friends, they like even still bring it up to this day. I posted the song not too long ago because I stumbled across it and I was listening to it, and then actually a kid that I went to high school with reached out. He was like, "Oh my god, I still remember this. This is the song you did for the video that you did for Steve Beckel." And so that's just a song that for me it's a sad. I mean, it, like be tear jerking over here, but
Louise,
I know, but that's a song that like for me is so just it's hard to listen to sometimes.
It's like sentimental in that way. No, and we were talking about, I don't know if this was on mic or off mic, but just about how you have some memories where if you have a song that was in a really difficult part of your life, it can be difficult to listen to the song again.
Exactly.
It's super like bittersweet in that way. But it's always nice to be able to like kind of tap into that and have that reminder of that time, because it can also let you know that like how different things are at this point.
Exactly.
Or you look at the song, hear the song with a different perspective.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. 1000%.
Oh man,
so
that's tough.
Yeah.
And now I'm about to bring it into like, I don't want to get super sad or depressing on this, but the next song that I have on my list, if you don't mind.
I'm good. Yeah, go ahead. Absolutely. Next one.
Next song I have on my list is, and I had to put this guy on my list. You know who I'm about to say?
I think so.
All right. It's a Kid Cudi song.
Ooh.
Gotta do Kid Cudi, dude.
This segment's named after Kid Cudi.
Yeah,
said
literally. So it's only fitting. Only fitting.
I almost had a Cudi one too, but yeah, go ahead.
But this one's also, soundtrack to my life. Great song, amazing song, but that's like that's for the normies. It's for, you know what I mean? It's too popular, dog. I gotta get one of them deep cuts from Cudi, and that's "Do It Alone." Do you know that song?
I don't.
Oh my God, Kid Cudi, dude.
Off of what?
Bring it up, Sam. This one, I think, is also another Lucy, but it might have been on a Kid Named Cudi mixtape.
Okay, because that's where I first heard him, was on a Kid Named Cudi.
Same.
And the song that was on that, what was the song that was on that project that was like the most popular one?
Well, Man on the Moon actually came on off of the Kid Named Cudi mixtape.
Was Day and Night? Was Day and Night on
was also the
Kid Named Cudi? It was, okay. All right.
Oh, that's what I meant to say. Day and Night, not Man on the Moon. But yeah, Day and Night came off that mixtape and obviously got pushed again to Man on the Moon 1.
Right.
They reused it because it was this bigger song.
It was so good. Yeah, it was so huge.
And now that I'm looking at Do It Alone, or
Do It Alone by Kid Cudi.
I'm looking at Kid Named Cudi right now mixtape, and Do It Alone is not on there. It'll definitely be on YouTube. And oh my God,
12 years ago.
Even the cover art, just like for that thumbnail for that video, brings back so many memories for me. Get this ad out of here. Get this ad out of here. But yeah, we're kind of already, you had your memory of a song that was super sentimental to you and kind of had these sad memories too. And thankfully, as I'm older now, like it's not still like a tough song for me to listen to. But when I listened to it at the time when it was new to me, this is a song I freaking like cried in my pillow to, dude.
No way.
Yeah. I mean, like, just even the storytelling of it all. I'll let it play right now a little bit. Come on. Come on. Oh, this is so good. This is so good. Yo.
He made soundscapes like no other artist did at this particular time.
Yeah.
Like,
no, for sure.
And
have you seen I think we talked about this. Did you see the Kid Cudi documentary on Amazon
haven't
Prime?
Yet. No.
It's really good.
I heard it's really good.
Come and go.
Ooh.
Ever go. Man, I'm so comfortable here. Where people live in fear. So it's super emo, as you can tell. But the whole essence of the song is like the title is just like self-explanatory. He's talking about you have to do it alone. You kind of have to take this trip of life and do it by yourself. And kind of like the essence of Cudi is, I'm sure we all know, is like being okay with being a weirdo or being okay with being kind of like a social outcast, like, so to speak. And he kind of like comforts you there and kind of says, I'm going through that too. And he says this whole thing where he's talking to some like spirit or lady or something, or some psychic or something, and she's pretty much telling him, you got to do this whole thing alone. And like the end of the chorus kind of goes like, it's bigger than you, man. It's bigger than you. Like, you know, there's the reason to keep pushing forward is because you have some purpose in life that's larger than you are, and you kind of got to block out all the negative stuff that's happening, and also accept the fact that it'll be a lonely journey. And we're all just gonna get really sad. I need everybody to get really low, because when I listened to this, I was a really angsty 7th grader or like 6th grader, and that was right before like, you know, those are the times where like you're not super comfortable like all the time with like where you stand, or at least I haven't met one person that said they were comfortable with who they were in 7th grade.
No way.
Yeah,
no
like
chance.
you know what
oh
I
my
mean?
God, I was awkward as heck too.
Yeah, I was like,
yeah.
And the thing is, like, I actually wasn't necessarily super socially awkward, but I wasn't, you know, kind of being the person that I wanted to be.
Oh,
if that makes any sense.
Who
you know
is
what
at
I mean?
7th grade?
Exactly.
7th grade though.
Exactly.
You know,
so
it's that's a very difficult time just in general. Like there's so many changes happening in your body and like
exactly,
just
not comfortable with
mind.
your body, not comfortable with your identity. You're trying to you figure out like how this is gonna go, and of course when you're like 13, you're like, oh, this is just gonna last forever. And, like, you know, I'm gonna be a loser forever. And what I love about Cudi's music, and I'll let us move on so you can get to your track. But what I always love about Cudi's music is that like it's emo and it's sad and people get the gist of that. But I think why he has such an impact the way he does, and that everybody talks about, you saved my life, is that it's not like so self-indulgent of like, life sucks, life just fucking sucks, like nobody likes me, why does this happen to me, like kind of, you know what I mean, like woe is me. There's always that drop of like, it's gonna be okay. Like, you know what I mean? It's really hard right now, but it's going to be okay. Or it's really hard right now.
There's a hopefulness to it.
Yeah.
Even
you know
in the
what I mean?
aesthetic of it.
Exactly.
Even that whole Man on the Moon 1 album, which is, I think, like so pivotal for so many people, as you mentioned.
Right.
But I absolutely agree. There's like a sentiment there where like not only in the lyrics, but also with the tone of the actual music itself.
Yeah.
There's a hopefulness to it. It's not this
Exactly.
like dreary, just like low.
Which would really take you down. And like obviously there are some dark Cudi songs where like the whole premise of the song is him reflecting on how much he hates the position he's in. But there's always that seed of like, hey, listener, I'm going through this too, so that means we're going through it together and things will be all right. And Do It Alone for me is like the epitome of that. It's like such a somber, slow song, but the messaging of it overall is like, just accept the fact that you will be lonely at times, but that's all right. And the more you can kind of embrace that part and get comfortable with it, the more you'll just get comfortable living life. You know what I mean? And yeah, it was just really good, super formative for me. One of those ones where I'm like, even now that I'm older, I'm like, I can't believe that, like, you know, he was 20 whatever while writing that song, but it affected me as a preteen so heavy, and as I'm older, the lyrics even resonate even more.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So Do It Alone, Kid Cudi. If you're a Cudi fan and you don't know that one, bro,
which is me, 11 million streams or views on that, and I am not one of them.
I've never heard that either.
You never heard it? They did? Yeah.
Oh, it's so good.
I was a day and night person. That's what got me into Cudi.
Day and Night was definitely one of those ones, but Do It Alone and The Prayer.
The Prayer. I do remember The Prayer.
Those are
that's
like
a great
two
song.
songs that like I find like, again, they aren't on, at least from what I'm seeing here on the Kid Named Cudi mixtape. The Prayer is actually
The Prayer is, I
the
believe.
Prayer is
Yeah,
actually
yeah.
But those are two that like I would only go to like YouTube for those songs,
right,
and like just as singles specifically, and I just thought were like just so great.
What I really love about Cudi as well is I think at that time, the particular time you're talking about, we'll call it maybe like 2009, 10-ish, right?
Yeah.
I think we were sort of starting to, in terms of mainstream hip hop music, there was this like,
and probably even before that, probably more like 2008, 07.
Okay, maybe it was even before that. So we'll call it like late 2000s.
Yeah.
You're kind of getting out of this more like hood sort of like gangster rap that was flooding the airwaves a lot more. This sort of grittier style stuff that you maybe play at a club or like, or maybe that would just be like exactly that. But there was nothing really for like, I don't want to say the nerds, but like, in terms of hip hop, the nerds. And MF Doom was one of those artists, but he wasn't as mainstream, right?
Right.
MF Doom would be one I would think,
which
consider.
Would have completely defeated the purpose of MF Doom. Like if he became mainstream, it just.
But
like,
Cudi did, and that's this was my point of that,
right.
where it's like it's so cool that like Cudi seemed like he was one of the first artists there to kind of break that.
Yeah, and kind of crossover.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, I thought that's a great choice there. Super cool. I'm gonna end mine on a little bit of a comedic sort of story here.
I mean, you started on a comedic one for me.
So yeah, so I guess this one makes some sense here. So I'm gonna actually one of the songs that we'll talk about another time too when we do this again. Where I love how you talk. I have a story about like getting my first car with a song. I thought that was really great. But since Sam is here, we can maybe do that one on a remote episode. But since Sam is here, I want to talk about a song that was really pivotal for me in college. To a very specific moment. So I was a senior, so it was the year after we would have been living together. We lived together my junior year, his sophomore year, and I mean we listened to music all the time in our like apartment suite thing we were living in with two of our other friends. Shout out Taylor and Presh. But my senior year, I had a single, and I was just going to do like my student teaching and stuff like that. And I ended up student teaching for part-time in the fall at Framingham High. And we went to Framingham State. And at Framingham High, I got paired with the varsity basketball coach, and who was also an English teacher. So it was really cool to like,
oh my God,
not only learn from him, but also like, we had the same interests in hoops. Yeah. And I was just getting into coaching at that
English.
time. Exactly. So it was really cool. And I was doing some like coaching at Danvers at the time, but I was driving back and forth. It was a lot. And he was like, well, you're here most of the time, like throughout the year. Why don't you just like assist me? I can't pay you, but like, it's just volunteer assist. And I just wanted to be a part of it. And like, I'm, 21, 22 years old, like looking for an opportunity like that. And at the varsity level, especially, because I think at Danvers, I was like coaching, like assistant coaching, like freshman at the time. Gotcha. So I was like, hell yeah, let's go do this. And I was the youngest guy on the staff by far. It wasn't even close. But we did have a younger staff, but I was obviously like a lot in closer proximity to ages of some of the kids on the team. I was 21, 22 years old, and they're probably like 16, 17, 18. And the first few games, home games, they played their warm-up playlist. Anyway, so I hear their warm-up mix, and bruh, it was so bad. It was like, it was terrible. Like,
I
in my opinion,
it was gonna go the other direction.
It wasn't good.
Like, dude, I'm still looking for that playlist today.
It wasn't good. I'll put it that way. I can't remember what was on it, but the song
"Three Doors Down," Kryptonite was on it.
Hey, all right. No, Shamu was not there, but no, I just remember it not being good. And the other shout out Alex Giangregorio, who was one of the younger guys on the staff at that time as well. He was the freshman coach. We would talk about it all the time. We were a little bit closer in age. He was a couple years older than me, and we would talk about this warm up mix sucks. Like, this is bad.
That's
We'd
how
say
bad
it to the
it
kids.
was.
It was bad.
Like, you guys had to like sidebar, like, dude, this music is really bad.
It wasn't good. It wasn't good. It was all like, I don't even know what it was. And I can't even remember. And I'm sure shout out like the Framingham High varsity team at that time, like Nate Martino, Mikey Bradley, and Gio Aga, all those guys. I'm sure you guys could probably at some point comment at least on this if you guys check it out, what songs were on that terrible mix. But they'll attest to this. I walked up to them and I go, guys, like, this mix sucks. Like, let me make you one. And they were very receptive to it, weirdly enough. Like, normally, like, 17, 18-year-olds are like, nah, fuck you. But like, they were pretty much like, yeah, let's see what you got, coach. Like, let's see what you got.
This is funny because it's so perfectly like kind of intersects with like all of your interests, and it like just makes sense, like what we're doing now and like what you're involved with now, like you were doing from back then.
I know. It's so funny.
For this, Mike.
I know. It's great, bro. I know, it's so funny, like how these things sort of circle back and shape up. But anyway, so I made the playlist. I don't even remember how I made it. Like I got the edited versions, and I think through iTunes, like tried to mix it as best I could, like doing like maybe like a minute and a half clip of each song. And the song that I had them come out to was El Chapo by The Game.
Oh,
do you remember that song?
Was that out?
Yeah, it was. It had just come out.
Really?
El Chapo.
Yeah, no, that song was hard.
So I had them come up to that with like the horns coming in. I think Sam's pulling it up, and I'll get it in a second. And I'll never forget the first time they heard it. And they put it on. We put it on. The mix goes through the full 15-minute warm up. They were loving it, and they're like, yo, this is it. And
Someone scored 50 right after that.
And I'm not here taking any credit for it, because I probably had the least amount of credit that year of their success, but they ended up going 11-9.
I was going to say their record improved.
They did. Their record improved. They made the tournament, and here we go. Wow. These horns, bro. They came out to this shit.
That's so funny, dude, because I remember this vividly, but I guess it did come out when I was in high school.
Yep. And they would come out of the locker room right here.
Oh, no, this is good.
Yeah.
This is great. I'm surprised this isn't on the bracket, now that I think about it. No, this is a great song. I am the God. God.
El Chapo.
Yeah, Mike is killing it over here.
Yo, I'll put it this way, bro. That playlist was, I have it somewhere, but that playlist was dope. I'm telling you. And they thought it was too. Like, they'll tell you. And so every time I hear now El Chapo, I think of Framing Him High.
Yeah.
Because
every time you think of El Chapo, even himself, you're like, oh, Framing
Him High. So that's, I like that. That memory is really important to me. And that, honestly, like that year coaching, I mean, I've coached for 10 years now, and I've said it for a long time. And I love where I am now and who I'm working under with Coach Fazio at Andover. I mean, it's just been an amazing experience, and I've been really lucky to be a part of a team at Everett that went in a deep run in the tournament. But I always say that Framingham year was one of my favorite years of coaching for so many reasons. Just the camaraderie with the kids and the coaching staff, and it's just a huge moment for me as a person and as a coach. So even though I was just an assistant, and there's a lot I learned from that year too. So that song is so influentially important.
On teams now, like when you're coaching and stuff, do you try and take control of the playlist at this point?
So I know here, and that's why I wanted to talk about this song, because I tried it at Andover this year, because I said the same, I was like, boys, playlist isn't good. And same thing with one of the assistant coaches who's around my age too. He's like, yeah, this is trash. Like everywhere else we go, it's better. Tried to make one for them, and they were not receptive of it. So I think that means I've aged potentially. Like, is there? I think I've aged. I think I'm at the point where I can't.
The face you made, you're like, unfortunately, did not go my way.
I'm 1 for 2 in that category.
Gotcha.
So yeah. So they did not. They were not receptive of that. But yeah, so that's my last one, and so I wanted to share that because I thought it would be.
Well, that's good. That's nice.
Yeah,
that's dope. That's funny because yours is also probably, if those kids on the high school team were making or a part of the soundtrack to our live segment right now, one of them might bring that song up.
Very true.
It's like you have a shared formative song with other people.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah,
that's really dope.
It was really sweet. So that's it. Soundtrack to our lives, everybody, and we'll definitely do this again. I think this was a really cool segment to get to know us on a deeper level, other than just here's this song. Let's break it down. This is not that's not value with that, but it's just I think a lot better to have those moments to get to know each other a little bit more through music.
This is such a good segment because it lets you pick a song and you already have a story behind it.
Right.
So we already have something to go off of. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's definitely dope.